Dragon-type Pokemon are apex predators. Or they were until the Fairy type was released. Sadly, even still, before they reached their final forms in Gens 1 through 5, they were useless. Today I'm Nuzlocking Pokemon White with these pre-Fairy dragons, and there will be plenty of roadblocks. For example, there aren't any dragon types. This is where Grail comes into play. This little baby was part of the Year of the Dragon event in Japan Pokemon Centers, and will be our starter. There are a few other options, but starting with Grail will give me the largest selection of dragons for the run. The only issue is that, because he's newly born, he's level 1 and only knows Rage. This is where Placidusax comes into play. This little baby was part of the Year of the Dragon event in Japan Pokemon Centers and will be our starter. Even though she's newly born, she inherited the rage of those before her, and Placidusax utilizes it to its fullest to level the playing field. I didn't want things to be too easy with Dragon Rage, but Paycon doesn't work, half of the events aren't dragons yet, and Dredagon will be readily available anyways. However, I will be able to get more eggs from this event later in the run. I just don't know that yet. Yes, and my one and only alive Pokemon loves me very much. How did you know? Well, I don't get to use Grail like I wanted. The biggest challenge of the first gym is staying within the level cap. But with our guaranteed damage, we didn't have to level up much to begin with. I wonder if this is what it feels like for the Dragon Master Lance. With the first boss defeated, we're set on a quest that usually feels like a chore. And while it still kind of is, this time we actually get something out of it. Access to the Dream World. The Dream World was an official browser game that you could connect your Generation 5 games to in order to obtain rare Pokemon and items. All you need is Wi-Fi. And if I were to connect to the Icy Cave area, which is available by default, and grind it out, then eventually I'll obtain a Gibble. It takes a whole Dream Ball to catch. I was on the edge of my seat. This Gibble is special in that it knows Outrage, but honestly, I'm more stoked about it being a Gibble. Now, how do I get out of here? Like many other early game rival fights, Charon's third battle is no big deal. This fact also includes everyone's favorite E-Boy N, so we're gonna continue skipping over the majority of their fights for now. Oh, that's a cool rock! One of the real first roadblocks in this challenge is Lenora. Well, that is if her AI doesn't throw, but I don't want to rely on RNG to win. That's why we'll be using the other tools that the Dream World gives to us. In addition to Bail the Gibble, there are a plethora of items that could technically be obtained by this point in the game. I only say technically because the Dream World was shut down 11 years ago. For example, as well as our plentiful Dream World EV medication, I could use the Dragon Gem to boost Dragon Rage. Okay, so I knew that Dragon Rage wouldn't get boosted, but I thought that because it wouldn't, then the item itself wouldn't be used. Guess I should have tested that. The Herdier only uses Leer, but if they had used Takedown, then we still would have been outside the Watchog's Retaliate kill range. At least before the boost. Our mid-battle level up lets Bail barely outspeed the Watchog, but Outrage is nowhere near enough to kill without the gem, and especially not after Herdier's Intimidate. However, the early game AI has a tendency to play passively, and even though the boosted Retaliate will knock us out, I don't think they see that boost. As you can see, once Outrage puts them in the yellow, Watchog just uses Leer. Bail is locked into the move, so he punishes their misplay with a sweeping victory. Yeah, I took a big risk by keeping Bail in, but I had it on a good source that the AI loves to use their status moves. I also felt that being a little risky would be okay. A reset this early wouldn't have been too bad. Heh, watch out Lance, I'm coming for that title. We make our way through the Pinwheel Forest, and while I'm really enjoying the company of these little dragons, I'm beginning to see Dragon Rage fall off in effectiveness. The trainers in between are all still pretty easy, but I'll for sure need to be careful against Berg. Lenora's gem already came down to RNG, and I don't want to risk that again. Whoa, how was Game Freak able to pull this off on my 2024 gaming laptop? In downtown Castilia, I give Team Plasma the hands yet again. Wow, these guys sure are involved, huh? This time I technically have the help of this girl named Iris, but she kinda just stands around. It's fine though, not everybody could be as good of a battler as me. Either way, Placidusax does her thing, and I run into Getsus for the first time. You know, this is probably endgame Getsus. He could ruin my whole day if he wanted to. Bianca gets her stolen Pokemon back, and Iris thanks me with a Yachi Berry? Alright, never mind. Iris might be the carry after all. The gym has to be using like 90% of the city's energy. There's no way. This will be the last time we rely on Dragon Rage. But, like I said, it's not as reliable as before. Every one of Berg's Pokemon will need 2 Dragon Rages to kill, and that becomes a problem when his Whirlipede lands a Screech to immediately lower our defenses by 2. Bale brings him to the red multiple times as Berg uses up his potions, but I figure that at this rate, we'll take too much damage by the time Leavanny comes out, so I end up switching. Unfortunately, Whirlipede uses Pursuit, and I honestly haven't even thought about that move in a long time. Oops! Placidusax tags in without any damage, and finishes off the Whirlipede, with Dwebble following very close behind. But not before using Struggle Bug. Really? That's all it did? Maybe I should have put the Eviolite on Placid instead of Bale. Even Leavanny's Struggle Bug isn't too bad, thanks to our Oran Berry bringing us safely out of kill range. But my heart shatters into a million pieces on the next turn, where the unthinkable happens. My Lenora luck comes full circle, and Leavanny gets a crit with a roll that kills. My beloved starter is taken away from us just because. I really wanted to become a Dragon Master, and Placidusax was supposed to make it all that way with me. Her story ended early, but her will lives on. Bale, my lone dragon, returns to the field, still not home free. Leavanny is just a little bit faster, and his Razor Leaf has a deadly high crit chance. We will be losing this very turn if Bale lacks what it takes to carry on. But with Placidusax's will living on in him, Bale withstands the attack and fires off a final Dragon Rage and knocks out Leavanny, winning us a very tragic 3rd badge. The power surging through Bale triggers an evolution at the conclusion of the battle, and thank goodness, because we are gonna need it. I'd like to give a friendly reminder to like and subscribe if you haven't already. It helps me out a whole lot, and I'd really appreciate it. That's all, thank you. Even Bianca turns into a somewhat scary fight now that it's just Bale and me. Her Herdier leads with an Intimidate that I can't do anything about, and the Servine threatens impending doom with Leech Seed. We narrowly escape, but gee willikers, am I right, guys? Charon and End end up as pretty easy fights comparatively, but XP management of one Pokemon is clearly becoming a problem. And for some reason, the first couple Emolga in Elisa's gym give way more experience than they have any right to. So Bale eventually overlevels with 1 fight left before the boss. After frantically investigating, this is where I learned that I could thankfully get more Dragon Eggs. The Year of the Dragon event lasted a solid month and a half, with each week letting you get a different egg at random. I don't want to overdo it, so I'll incorporate 1 egg after every odd-numbered gym badge to simulate a week, as opposed to getting like all 5 eggs right now. I can keep the run going without compromising the rule set, and Placidusax won't have died for nothing. Now hatching the egg outside the Pokemon Center makes Oceiros my Nimbasa City encounter. Look, Bale, you've got a little sister. Oceiros is perfect because, excluding the lack of electric immunity, she's just as much of a threat for Elisa. The first Emolga oddly uses Pursuit on 1 Pokemon in my party, and the Rough Skin Chip puts it in kill range of Dragon Claw. The second Emolga is a little more sensible with Aerial Ace, but you know the drill. Static may have activated after the attack, however, our held Cherry Berry from the Dream World cures Oceiros immediately. And Zebstrika can't do much to us either, so we just safely wrap it up with Dig. Sorry, Bale, I know you're bloodthirsty. Oh man, between the rival fight, the double battle with the rival, and every other mandatory fight before the next gym, even if Bale didn't overlevel, there was no way he would have managed this time. Thanks to the cold storage having a surprisingly large amount of dodgeable trainers and a surprisingly small amount of ice types, Bale and Oceiros coast on all the way through to Clay. In this gym, Bale finally gets to blow off some steam and solos all who oppose him. Krokorok is taken out by Dual Chop. I pulled that one off with a correctly used Dragon Gem this time, isn't that cool? Palpitoad would have lived the same attack if it weren't for the crit. And finally, the Excadrill is one-shot by Dig thanks to the mid-battle level up. Without an active Sand Rush from the gym's ace, it didn't take that much speed investment for Bale to be faster. 5 badges in hand means that our dragon family grows even bigger. A hypothetical week has passed, meaning I could pick up the next egg. After biking back and forth for several minutes like it's 2016 and Pokemon Go just came out, the newest egg hatches into Trapinch. Horsey honestly would have been the best for some upcoming fights, but Sin isn't bad per se. I mean, look at him. He's radiating raw, bad boy energy. But even though he can become a dragon within this level cap, I'm holding off. Why? It's a secret. Chargestone Cave only really serves to be yet another Team Plasma Gauntlet, leading up to N talking about liberating Pokemon, then asking me if I have a dream of my own. Heh, actually I have a reality. Once again, because I'm using minimal Pokemon, EXP management gets particularly dangerous. But in Celestial Tower, I remembered a weird little mechanic. Some trainers in this game change where they're looking or their movement speed when you run. But in this place, all you have to do is press the B button and that'll make them change. I only end up doing a couple battles by the end. Thanks to that strat, we barely stay safely leveled for Skyla and maintain our stride. I mean, bird Pokemon are generally pretty frail to begin with, so it should come to no one's surprise that Oceros sweeps her second entire gym. She was born last week, by the way. Like, I get most people don't have any dragon types by this point in the game, so it makes sense that the bosses don't have any coverage for them. But an Icy Wind would make some sense, right? Maybe I shouldn't say anything. Now Sin is allowed to let loose and evolve, and the reason I waited was so that he could learn Earth Power as a Trapinch at level 39. Flygon doesn't learn this in the game for some reason. However, I quickly learned that Trapinch only learns the Earth Power at level 39 in Black and White 2. In these first games, Trapinch learns Earth Power at level 65. Man, what was Game Freak on back then? Another successful battle against Charon inspires Alder to gift me the HM for Surf. Well, he gives it to Charon first and then to me, but that's neither here nor there. Oddly enough, Oceros can learn Surf, and she uses our new tool to move backwards for a second. From Route 6, Surf brings us to Millstriton Cave. And this is where I pick up the first official wild dragon. What? That's a thing in this game? Everyone say hello to Calamite. What makes Calamite different from our other 3 physical dragons, you may ask? Well, I don't know. What I do know is several other crucial TMs make their way into my pocket immediately after, including Flash Cannon, Substitute, Fire Blast, and Brick Break. But Brick Break is the only TM that we really need. Or at least that was the idea until I learned that nobody can learn it? Are you kidding me? They all have arms. Calamite was going to use Brick Break to show exactly what makes him special in the 7th gym, but change of plans, I guess. I've been super worried about Bryson for the entire playthrough, yet even without a super effective move, Calamite gives me hope. Bryson's Vanillish oddly has a minus special attack nature, so Calamite will always live the first Frost Breath attack. This means we can set up the newbie-specific Dragon Dance without any worries. But instead of attacking, Vanillish uses Acid Armor to boost his defense by 2 stages. We can't one-shot them anymore, so on the next turn, we Dragon Dance again. Has Acid Armor again. Touché? No matter what, it'll take 2 hits to knock them out from now on. So if we don't go on the offensive at this moment, it could be all over. Calamite initiates the attack, and Dragonclaw puts the Snow Cone into the yellow. In response, they max out their defenses and use Acid Armor again. Normally at this point, we'd be out of luck entirely. Bryson heals up to full, and we have to hit through 6 layers of defense. But Calamite is blessed with what many consider to be a curse: Rivalry. On girl Pokemon, my axe-headed dragon gets really flustered, but he sees red when attacking boy Pokemon and gets a 25% attack boost. That boost lets Dragonclaw remain to be a 2-hit, and we safely knock out Vanillish only 2 turns later. Originally, Beartic was the biggest problem. A single Dragon Dance, Rivalry boosted Dragonclaw wouldn't have been enough to knock him out. This is where Brick Break would have been really nice. But this time I equipped a normal gem to boost our max friendship return to barely take our power over the edge. Of course, at this point, the 2 Dragon Dances would have let Dragonclaw do the job, but look, I had a consistent plan. I think things through. Theoretically, Cryogonal would have also been a problem, but that was only if we didn't even use 1 Dragon Dance to begin with. But since we did, the Ice Gym ends up getting swept just like all the others. Guess I didn't need that Yachi Berry after all. With the finicky acquisition of Badge 7, the last Dragon Egg of the run is put into my possession. Man, if 2012 wasn't the year of the dragon, then this challenge would actually be impossible. This egg doesn't seem to mind the harsh winters of Icarus City, and quickly hatches into the adorable little horsey. I would have preferred getting Seath earlier for the previous badge, but better late than never. Of course I can't use him yet because he isn't officially a dragon, but oddly enough, the Dragon Scale is available before the post-game. Normally these items with no relation to Gen 5 Pokemon wouldn't be available yet, but nope, not this one. Seath reaches her final form rather quickly thanks to the item being available on Route 17 and joins the team immediately. Before we can make our way to the final gym, I get a little sidetracked, morally. Team Plasma may abduct innocent Pokemon from their trainers, but infiltrating Dragon Spiral Tower is where I draw the line. How could they desecrate this historical dragon-based landmark? Yeah, I'm doing the same thing right now, but I'm doing it in a respectful way, so it's different. I catch up to N at the very top, awakening the legendary Dragon Reshiram? What the heck? Why does he get one? I'm the dragon guy. He's saying that there's another dragon waiting for me to prove myself before it shows itself, but N is confident that it will show itself. I guess I just have to keep doing what I'm doing for now and let N get away. After N escapes very swaggly, Getsus also escapes. I return to Nankreen City to pick up the really cool rock from earlier. Probably no correlation. I get back on track and battle Bianca for the first time on screen and also the last, and then Getsus escapes again. Very cool. But the reading comprehension check is behind me now, so nothing's stopping me from finally entering Upper City. Oh no, my reading comprehension! Ah! What, the Iris is here too? What are the odds? Hey, do you have any more of those type weakening berries? Oh, they're this way? Ah, they got me again! Well, if my reading comprehension is anything to go by, Iris and Drayden are also saying that I'm destined to wake up Zekrom from their slumber. Everyone is incredibly certain that I'm the guy, and I'm not entirely sure why. Must be like a full moon or something. There are a large number of dragon trainers in this last gym, all with threats capable of taking a life if I'm not careful. I'm able to get by with the Dragon Fang from Dragon Spiral Tower, boosting both Bale's and Calameet's consistently great offensive presence. And we remain comfortably within the level cap.
What? Iris is the 8th gym leader?
I don't know if that joke works as well in this game. This Dragon Trainer duel is actually pretty simple. The only Dragon type stab moves that Iris has is Dragon Tail. It's a move with negative priority because it switches the recipient out, and it's so weird. I get that they wanted to show off a new move, but if they at least gave them Dragon Claw as well, then the mind games would have been crazy. Now, at best, their best move has negative synergy with their own Dragon Dance. We're always guaranteed to land a hit first unless they use a weaker attack, so the 8th and final gym is yet another clean sweep. Maybe I am that close to being a Dragon Master. It just seems so simple to me, personally. And with this final stretch remaining, my Pokemon are just as invigorated as I am. Bale, Sin, and Calameet reach their final forms, and my team of dragons proves to be the threat they were always meant to be. It's around this time that Placidusax would be evolving for the first time as well, so remembering her hurts extra hard today. But that just means she's still part of the team. Charon takes this opportunity between major battles to test my strength one last time. But just like all the others, my dragons utilize the power they inherited from the legendaries and make quick work of them. Charon also had aspirations to be the strongest, but without a vision of what that looks like to him, all he could do was lag behind. Real quick, I just need to gush over this victory road before we continue. I love the lead up to it with each area representing each gym badge, and the music dynamically changes as you get closer and closer to Victory Road, and then when you finally get there, the melody hits and oof, I get chills every time. I also think it's really cool how you see the other trainers making their way through Victory Road too. Makes the world feel alive. This is the final team all leveled up to the level cap of 50. The endgame is what these pseudo-legendaries and pseudo-legendaries were made for. If we could get past the early game like we did, then we'll certainly get past this too. The gauntlet begins with the Ghost-type user Chantel. All of her Pokemon are girls, which would normally neuter Calameet due to his rivalry ability. However, I have a way to play around that this time. The first step of my plan involves Calameet setting up with Dragon Dance, while the Cofagrigus confidently burns us with a predictable Will-O-Wisp. But that gets undone immediately thanks to our held Lumberry. At this point, the rivalry is still in effect, so Shadow Claw is in no position to kill outside of a crit. Unfortunately, we don't make that roll, so when Cofagrigus uses Willow again, they miss! I mainly wanted to lead with Calameet to handle the burn and let Bale come in to clean up from there, but I also knew this was a possibility and took the chance. The key here is that when Calameet landed his first Shadow Claw, it activated Cofagrigus' Mummy ability. That switches out our rivalry for Mummy, so now Calameet can sweep the rest of Chantel's team with his full +1 potential. Grimsley's first Pokemon is by default a rivalry victim, so once again Calameet is a great lead. No way, he can learn Break now? Well, that just doesn't make any sense to me. We only have 2 arms. The rest of Grimsley's Pokemon are girls, and on top of that, we're intimidated now. So it's time to switch. Krookodile comes locked and loaded with Dragon Claw. So no matter what we do, we've gotta risk a crit here. And... no way! Seath was gonna shine in the Elite Four and be a great check to Ends and Ghetsis' teams. This is very bad. For now though, Bale is safe to come in, because even though we can't one-shot the Krookodile with Brick, Bale always lives a crit, letting Rough Skin finish them off. Bisharp and Liepard aren't that far behind, if you can believe it. But man, that was unlucky. I might have been able to get a Haban Berry from the Dream World to weaken Dragon Claw, but I couldn't find out how. I think I just always had to risk a crit there, or maybe just lead with Seath to begin with. I don't know. With the reminder that our friends can abruptly get taken away, Bale feels the need to let out his outrage. Fortunately, that's also the quickest and easiest way to deal with Caitlin's first 2 Pokemon. But unfortunately, Bale just can't break past the 2 uses. Once the first 2 go down, he gets confused. He could in theory power through and continue the onslaught onto Musharna, but instead, he hurts himself in confusion, gets attacked, and his special defense drops. Hey, at least they didn't set up Reflect. Sin finally gets some time to shine, as he's the only one who can kind of take a special attack. Now that Seath isn't here anymore. But still, after his first bit of damage, Musharna lands a crit. What's with these guys? At this point, I really need some damage, but if they crit again, then Sin will go down. But still, what other option do I have? Sin uses Dragon Claw and gets his own crit in the process, while Musharna uses Psychic again, and we live. While it'd be nice for Sin to get a kill, the crit unfortunately put Musharna in healing range, so now we have to switch again. This time it's to Oceiros, and he tanks the random move Shadow Ball pretty well. Nice! Oceiros barely outspeeds, which puts her in a phenomenal position to burn up their last full restore and take the kill herself. Last but not least is Gothitelle, and we cannot afford to stay in. The plan is for Calamite to get some chip damage, and that'll make way for Bale to return, tank a hit, and get the kill. But Caitlyn had other plans, because we switch in on a calm mind. We use Dragon Claw, and that leaves them in the green, and then they set up another. Calamite, being at full health, still has a chance to live, but it's a coin flip. But again, what other option do I have? If I taught Calamite X-Scissor from the TM like I planned, then I wouldn't be in this situation. It would have done more than Dragon Claw. Losing Seath really rattled me. My Bad Axe Dragon proudly stands his ground and lands what could very well be his last Dragon Claw on Gothitelle, leading them to finally firing off their +2 Psychic. And Calamite Cala beats the odds! Sin had burned an early full restore, leaving Gothitelle with no recovery left to get taken out by a 3rd Dragon Claw. The special defense-shaped void that Seath left is already starting to take its toll. While the snowball effect in Nuzlocke is real, we may still be able to get by. Oceiros charges into the Marshal's fighting types, and her job is to shake up the final elite team's footing. He catches on to part of my plan right away, as Throw uses Stone Edge instead of any contact moves. I would have liked some extra chip damage off of Rough Skin and our Rocky Helmet, but it's fine. Oceiros replies with a Dragon Tail, forcibly switching out Throw into Sock. That's surprisingly exactly what I wanted. We get to break his sturdy right away, which is always a bonus. And now I don't have to worry about a boosted Retaliate. Oceiros takes the initiative and tries to take them out, but what do you know? They're Stone Edge crits. Nice. Oceiros will live a non-crit, but I'm not taking that chance if I don't have to, and switch to Sin. He resists the Rocky attack, and validates my fears as the next attack was a crit. Cool. We outspeed and claim the first knockout. Conkeldurr takes the field to get revenge, and he has a crazy large damage output. But he doesn't have guts, so in the spirit of gambling, Sin uses Fire Blast. And while it doesn't get the burn, it does land, and that's really all I could have asked for. They use a heavy Hammer Arm, and Sin holds on with 5. Yeah, we're risking crits occasionally, it's just what I do now apparently. However, Bale only dies to high roll crits, so he enters the fight as my safest option, if you could call it that. And while dodging a crit, his rough skin puts Conkeldurr in Dragon Claw kill range. It's as easy as that, folks. From there, all I have to do is land a single attack, and then lock in Outrage. Couple of turns later, and the Elite Four is conquered. But it doesn't really feel like it. When I came up with my goal of being a Dragon Master, I paid no thought to the idea that I could make so many crucial mistakes, letting Pokemon like Grail and even Seath be put in a position to be murdered. Of course, I didn't think things would be easy, but are a couple slip-ups really gonna cost me so many dragons and even the run? No matter how well or unwell my journey plays out, everyone seems to believe that I'm the hero they can rely on. The gym leaders make way for me to climb the castle, the Shadow Triad leads me to a place to heal my Pokemon, Cheren has my back close behind, and even N is sure that I can awaken Zekrom. I have no plans of backing out or anything like that, but I really wonder what they see. Once I enter the throne room, N once again reaffirms his confidence, saying I could be an exceptional trainer, dragon or not. But regardless, it's time for the showdown, and Reshiram comes bursting through the wall. They let their presence radiate with their Turbo Blaze ability alone shaking the castle. The moment of truth arrives, to see if I'm truly worthy of Zekrom's power. Oh, wait, what's that thing doing here? Oh, well, I guess it was— oh god, it's Zekrom! This whole time, I thought that my mistakes and their consequences would define me. But Zekrom isn't concerned with the truth of the matter. My ideals were what spoke to them. I've done my very best to live up to not just others' expectations, but also my own. And on my journey to become a Dragon Master, I've also won over Reshiram's counterpart, who shakes the castle even harder with Terravolt. As they join my team, I give them the powerful nickname of Midir, and the final fight against N begins. Midir vs Reshiram is said to be a completely equal fight. They come from the same body, so their battles always end in draws. However, Midir eats Fusion Flares for breakfast and is the only one of the two with access to a dragon move. Dragon Breath isn't much, but it's honest work. I'd love to get the para as well, and after trading another set of hits, we do! But that gets N to heal again, and the next attack isn't as lucky. This just means that Reshiram is still faster than Midir, and commits its Hyper Beam, which is just enough to take out my newest friend. They weren't around for long, but they contributed everything they wanted to. Midir, I won't let you down. Calamite takes their place. With the remaining legendary needing a turn to recharge, we have the perfect opportunity to set up one single Dragon Dance. I had the rest of this fight planned out with the hope of Midir making it, but thanks to their sacrifice, things became a lot more simple. Calamite now outspeeds and effortlessly picks off N's Reshiram with Dragon Claw. Our Yachi Berry remains unused as Vanillux is split in half by Brick Break. Archeops's Defeatist ability is put into overtime with how low their health goes, the cog in N's machine doesn't fare any better, Zoroark can't even hope to outspeed my monster, and Caracosta— okay, well, they have Sturdy and can always get at least one attack off. So Stone Edge lands and— oh my goodness! Alright, well, I'm still locked in, so Bale comes in to tank the priority Aqua Jet, and the rough skin alone is enough to knock out the ancient fossil. Moments after the conclusion of the battle, Getsus barges in, calling N a useless good-for-nothing, and me just some unspecial trainer. He was surprised that Midir chose me to begin with, but now without such a powerhouse at my side, Getsus comes at me with full force. I let the reanimated corpse of Midir go down by spamming Slash over and over, and this lets Calamite enter the battle as he normally would. Cofagrigus is nasty because it always goes for Toxic on turn 1, and follows up with Protect to let it build up. I use this time to set up our tried and true Dragon Dance, and when they use their Toxic and Protect as predicted, Calamite sets up again. Getsus desperately attempts to use a second Protect in a row, but misses out, and his Cofagrigus gets obliterated by Calamite's +2 Dragon Claw. We lose our rivalry boost, but we don't need it anymore. Hydreigon briefly reminds me of what could have been, but we push forward and knock out the ace with another Dragon Claw. By this point, the toxic damage is really starting to rack up on Calamite, but after doing some math, because we've exclusively taken toxic damage, Calamite is completely safe to Brick Break through the Bouffalon while still surviving the next turn of Toxic. Now that's all the juice we can squeeze. Seismitoad is going for a random move since anything can kill, and when Sin comes out, Sludge Wave turns out to be their choice. This is perfect because Sin both resists it and dodges the poison. I expect to be able to duke it out for the next few turns, but after we attack with Dragon Claw, they set up the rain. Now the boosted, neutrally damaging Muddy Water puts Sin in crit kill range, and I don't feel comfortable trading any more hits. I could risk the crit if I wanted to, but I don't have to with the help of Oceiros. She tanks the attack while the subsequent Earthquake procs her Citrus Berry. In retaliation, she uses her own stronger Dragon Claw, but the natural disaster-fueled Amphibian is simply put into heal range. Keeping our attacks going hurts them a lot, but they're faster and a regular Earthquake will take out Oceiros now. But that just means I could go back to Sin, who's immune on Earthquake, and outspeed to pick up the kill. I have no need to risk a Night Slash crit from Bisharp, because Bale is naturally bulky and makes his grand entrance yet again, where his Brick Break breaks through the Knight's defenses. Last up is Electros, and to cap off this run, Bale thinks back to everyone who sacrificed themselves for us to get to this point, and uses one final Outrage. But even attacking such a powerful creature as Bale can get you hurt, and the Electros is no different. Thanks to neglectful skincare, we've defeated not only the Elite Four and Getsis, but also the entire game. The conclusion of both N's dream and mine weren't exactly the ones we envisioned at the start. He wanted to liberate all Pokemon, but they do have autonomy, and the truth Pokemon Reshiram chose to be with him. I thought that achieving my goal would look like a complete and utter victory, but in the end, I found that I had to give just a little bit more. With that, N found liberation for himself, and I became a Dragon Master. Thank you everyone so much for watching. I've been on a run of Nuzlocking through postgames, and had this idea of running through Whites all the way to Cynthia. I spent several hours learning how to edit the save file to make her actually Lance, and while I did change her team to his, I couldn't get the new sprites to work. At the end of the day, the run could continue and get a few encounters. I could do the Elite Four again to fight Alder, which I'd like to do, and then fight Lance, but I figured this was a more proper conclusion. Maybe I'll do a members-only epilogue of this or something eventually. It's one of my ideas. I really do like running through the post-games and DLCs for the Nuzlocks and everything, but I feel like they do run the risk of dragging on. Anyway, speaking of not dragging on, if you liked the video today and you want to support the channel, then a like, comment, and subscribe would go a long, long way. But other than that, that's all I got. Thank you all again so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time, and have a good one.